Hello guys and welcome to my channel. In this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you how to draft an overbust corset pattern. I'll also be teaching you how to sew an overbust corset. It's going to be very beginner friendly and easy to understand. For this we're going to be using our pattern paper to draft out our pattern, and later we'll be transferring this pattern to our fabric. Okay, if this seems like something you would love to learn how to make, definitely keep watching to the end of this video. Also, do not leave a like for me if you find it very helpful. Tell me what you think about it in the comment section, and subscribe to this channel so you can get notified whenever I upload a new video. And let's get right into it. Alright, so from the shoulder line, you want to go ahead and go out by 3 inches, and then you're going to come down by 3 inches. This is just for my neckline, and this neckline is going to be a guide. We're not actually going to be using it, but just so you guys understand what we're doing here, I'm going ahead to create this neckline, and then I'm going to divide my shoulder measurement by 2. And my shoulder is 16 divided by 2, I have 8 inches, so I'm going ahead to leave a mark at 8 inches. From this point I want to go ahead and come down by 1 inch to create my shoulder slope. From that point now I'm going to connect into the neckline. Okay, so what I want to go ahead and do now is to mark out my bust line and my underbust line, my waistline and my hip line. For my bust line I'm going to be using 11 inches. For my underbust line I'm going to be using 14 inches. For my waistline it's 16.5, and for my hip line I'll just be using 24. So I'll go ahead and extend these lines. Alright, so you want to go ahead and mark out your armhole line. So for your armhole line, you can divide your round armhole measurement by 2, or you can take your bust measurement and divide it by 6 plus 1.5 inches. So for mine, I have 7.6 inches. I'll go ahead and leave a mark at 7.6 inches. Then I'm going to be extending that line. That line is going to be my armhole line. So guys, I want to go ahead and create our armhole curve now. So for our armhole curve, you're going to go ahead and measure what you have on your shoulder line here, which is 8 inches, and you're going to be marking that out on your armhole line. So from that 8 inches point, or whatever measurement you have, you want to go ahead and connect it with a straight line to meet the shoulder slope. Once you have this, now you're going to divide what you have from here to here, and what I have from here to here is 4 inches. I'll leave a mark at 4 inches. Okay, and from that point now I'm going ahead to come in by half of an inch. From that point you want to go ahead and use your ruler to connect to form your armhole curve. Alright guys, so once you have that, you want to go ahead and take your nipple to nipple measurement at this point. You're going to take your nipple to nipple measurement and you're going to be dividing it into 2. My nipple to nipple measurement, I have 8 inches, and 8 divided by 2 gives me 4 inches. So I'll go ahead and leave a mark at 4 inches on my bust line. I'll leave that mark on my underbust line all the way down to my hip line. Then I'll go ahead and connect that with a straight line. Once I have that, I'm equally going to divide my shoulder measurement. That is what I have from here to here at my shoulder, what I have from here to this neck point at my shoulder, and I'm going to be dividing it by 2. What I have here is 5, and 5 divided by 2 gives me 2.5 inches. So I'll go ahead and leave a mark at 2.5 inches. From that point, I'm just going to use my ruler again, and I'm going to be connecting with a straight line to meet that. Once I have this, I want to go ahead and take my dart on my underbust line. Okay, so for my dart, I'm going to use my underbust line. It's going to be 1.5 inches. So depending on if you're busty, you can actually go as much as 2 inches or 2.5, depending on how snatched you also want this part of the dress to be, of the underbust corset to be. Alright, so what I want to do now is take that 1.5 inches that I'm going to be using. I'll be dividing that by 2, and I'm going to be leaving that on both sides. Okay. And once I have this same measurement, I'm also going to be taking it on my hip line. So once I have this, I'll use my straight ruler to connect all the way downward. So now I want to go ahead and use the curve part of my ruler to form a curve at this bust area. From your underbust to your bust, you're going to use your curve ruler and you're going to be forming a cup. Okay. I'll do that to this other side just like this. Alright guys, so once I have this, I'm going to go ahead and take my bust measurement now, and I'll be dividing my bust measurement by 4. You're going to go ahead and do that to yours. You're going to leave a mark there. You're also going to go ahead and divide your waist measurement by 4, and you're also going to be leaving a mark. Then I'll go ahead and divide my hip measurement by 4 also, and I'll be leaving a mark there. So once I have this now, I want to go ahead and replace my dart on my waist. Okay, so for this dart here, I took 1.5 inches, so I'm also going to replace that 1.5 inches. And for my waist, for my hip line, since I also took 1.5 inches at this point, I'll replace the 1.5 inches at this point. So now you want to go ahead and use your ruler to connect these lines. So now after you've done this, you want to go ahead and take your side dart. Okay, so for your side dart, the purpose of this is that you measure the front part of your body, you measure the shoulder to the waist part at the front part of your body, and you measure the shoulder to your waist at your back bodies. You notice that your front bodies is longer than your back bodies. So my front bodies is 16.5, and my back bodies is 15. So I'll go ahead and minus 15 from 16.5, and what I have is 1.5 inches, which means that that's the difference between my shoulder to my waist on my front and my shoulder to my waist at my back. So I'll go ahead and take that 1.5 inches down from my bust line like this. This is going to be my side dart, so I'll connect that into my bust point. Okay. So after creating your side dart, you want to go ahead and mark out your neckline. So for my neckline, to start this process, I'm going to come up on my armhole line. This is my armhole line, so I'm going to come up by 4 inches. Okay, so I'm going to leave a mark here at 4 inches, and at this 4 inches line, I'm going to go ahead and extend this point just like this. This line, I want to go ahead and come out by about 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch. So if you're a little bit busty, just like you added more measurements here, you're also going to add more measurements to this part. Okay, so I'm going out by about 1/2 and 1/4 of an inch. Okay, so it's not going to be half, it's not going to be 1/4, it's just going to be somewhere little there. Okay, so I'm just going to go out on both sides of this line that I have created. So what I want to do now is going to be to connect these line that we stopped here into this point, just like you can see me doing like this. You're going to go ahead and connect it this way. So I'll be extending that line all the way to my shoulder. Okay, so I'll go ahead and do the same thing on this side. Alright, so once I've done this, the purpose of this dart that we took here, this new dart that we formed here, is just for the overbust tightening. So this part of your chest can also be tightened. Okay, so once I've done this now, I want to go ahead and create my neckline. So for my neckline, what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to create kind of like a round neckline here. Okay, just using this curve part of my ruler, and I'll just be doing it this way. Okay, it's just very simple and easy. So this is what I have. I'm gonna have to create my neckline at this point. All right, so I also want to create my neckline at this other part. All right, but to do this now, I want to go ahead and add some allowance to this armhole line. So for this, I'm just going to be coming out by 1/2 of an inch here, and I'm coming out by 1/2 of an inch at this point. So I'm going to be using my curved ruler to connect to create a new armhole line. Now this is our new armhole line. So what I want to go ahead to do is to use my curved part of my ruler also to connect into this armhole line and blend it out, just like you see me doing like this. This is what you want to go ahead and do. Okay, so this is what we have for our neckline. All right. So now I just want to connect from my new armhole line to meet my waistline. Okay, so I'm going to be using my marker to brighten up this line so we can see. So this is my new armhole line. All right, so I'm going to connect it to my waistline, which is at this point. I'm just going to be doing it this way, and then I'll connect that all the way to my hip line, just like this. So guys, once I've done this, I want to go ahead and cut out this point so I can be able to close my side darts. I'm going ahead to close up this side dart just like you can see me doing like this. It's actually very easy. Just have to fold it in just like you can see me doing like this, but be careful not to make this to tear. All right, so now I am closing it up like this. So you can pin this down or tape this down. I'll be using my tape to tape this down. So once I've gone ahead to tape this down, this is what I have my overbust
snatching one of my bowling channels and that's what we're trying to do. So you just want to place your ruler just like I can see that I've done to mine, and draw a straight line that will cut across that point just like I have done.
So at this point now, I want to go ahead and take a dart. So I'll be using 1/2 inch on both sides. I'm going to be using 1/2 inch on this side, and I'm using 1/2 inch on this side. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect upward like this into the dart, and I'll be connecting this point to into the dart. So basically you're connecting into the bust line. Okay, so at this point you also want to connect downward like this. So guys, if you can't take so much snatching, please, you can just reduce your dart here by 1/4 inch. So you take 1/4 on this side and 1/4 on this side, but because I want this to be very snatched on me, that's why
so the extra allowance I'm adding to the side of this clothes is just a reminder for myself that I should be adding allowance to the side of this clothes when I'm cutting out with the pattern paper. So let's ignore this step and let's continue with the rest of this video.
So next you want to go ahead and form a curve around this point. Okay, whether it's a gown or whatever, this part is not supposed to be extended to the hip line because you're not going to be able to sit down if it's going to be this extended. So I just went ahead to come up at this point by 4 inches, and I left a mark at 4 inches. So from this point now you can connect into this part. All right. Alright, so I'm shading this out so you know that this is our dart. I'm also going to be cutting out this part. I'm going to be cutting out this part. Alright, so the part that's not shaded is the part that is going to be useful for us in this overbust corset. So let's go ahead and cut this out. Please watch carefully as I cut this out. And please note that I have not added any allowance for sewing on this pattern. So every sewing allowance is going to be added on the material. So let's go ahead and cut out. Alright guys, so for your back piece, it's actually very easy. You want to just go ahead and draw a straight line here. This straight line is going to be our shoulder line. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and mark our basic body's measurements. For this, we're going to be having a corset loop at the back, so we don't even need a zipper allowance. I'm going to mark out my neckline first of all, just for a guide. I'm going out by 3 inches. I'm coming out by 3 inches, just like I did for the front neckline. I'll go ahead and use my curved ruler to connect this like this. I'm dividing my shoulder measurement by 2. That gives me 8. I'm leaving a mark at 8 inches. then I am coming down by 1 inch. Just create my shoulder slope. I'll go ahead and connect that into that point. Next thing I want to do is to mark out my armhole line. For my armhole line, I'm dividing my armhole measurement by 2, or bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1.5, and I'm going ahead to leave a mark at my armhole line. The next thing I want to leave a mark at is my bust line. Okay, so my bust line, which is my chest line now, since it's the back piece, I'm using 11. And then for my waistline, I already told you guys that my waistline at my back piece is 15 inches when I was marking out the front piece. Please do not to measure your waistline for your back, because your waistline for your front and your back is not the same thing. So I'm leaving a mark at 15 inches. Next thing, I am just leaving my hip line. So these are the measurements I'm using for this back piece.
So next thing I'm going to divide this simple measurement by 2, and that gives me 4 inches. I'll be marking that 4 inches on my waistline, and I'm using a straight ruler to connect that downward from my hip line all the way to my armhole line. Now I'm going out by half of an inch on both sides of this line. I'm going to create a dot. You can use quarter of an inch, just depending on how snatched you want your waistline to be. So now I'm going down by 5 inches. You can go down by 6 inches if you're on the taller side, and then I'm just going to use my ruler to complete this dot, just like you can see me doing. So next, I'm just going to divide my bust measurement by 4, and I'm marking out my bust line. My waist measurement divided by 4, I'm marking that on my waistline. I'm just going ahead to replace the dot, which is 1 inch, and I'm dividing my hip measurement by 4 and marking that on my hip line. After which, I'm using my ruler to connect these points. The next thing I want to do would be to complete my armhole. This armhole is just for a guide. So I'm going to take my shoulder measurement and divide it by 2, and what I have, I'm marking that on my armhole line and using a straight ruler to connect upward. After that, I'm just going to measure from my slope down to my armhole line and dividing what I have by 2. Moving a mark there. From that point, I'm coming by half of an inch, and I'm going to use my ruler to connect this with a curve.
So my neckline, what I want to go ahead to do now is from this point, I'm just going to be using my ruler to create a curve. So at this point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. From this line, I'm coming down by 1 inch, and then I'll use my ruler to connect all the way to my armhole line. I've connected that. I want to go ahead and take the side piece of my front. This is the side piece of my front. So I'm going to be placing it at this side like this. Okay, so I'm going to be taking the measurement that I have from this point to this point. I'll leave that mark here, and so once I have that,
I'm just going to go ahead and extend my dash to reach the new body's measurement for my back body. So just extend it upward and extend it downward.
Okay, so for this, I just want to go ahead and create another dot that will help me to snatch this waistline better. So on this waistline now, I'm going to divide what I have from this point to this point by 2. So I'm going to measure that, and what I have is 4 inches. I'll divide 4 inches divided by 2. That gives me 2 inches. So at this point now, I'm going to use my pencil so you guys can understand better. I'm going to draw a straight line at this point. So just like I've done for my front piece, I'll go ahead and go out on quarter of an inch on both sides, and then I'll use my ruler to connect all the way upward, just to create another dot that will help me to snatch my waistline better and give me that better looking hourglass shape. So once I have this now, I'll go ahead and label this 1, 2, 3. Okay, so at this side we're going to be having an eyelet. So just so I do not forget that this is supposed to have an eyelet, I'm going to go ahead and create a straight line here so you guys can understand better. So you go ahead and do this to yours so you do not also forget. Okay,
Alright guys, so this is all for the pattern drafting of this overbust corset. This is my back piece and my front piece that I'm laying out on my table. And my next tutorial, I'm going to be showing you guys the sewing process of this overbust corset. Do want to subscribe to this channel so you can be notified when I post this video. Also, do want to leave a like and a comment if you find this video very helpful, and I will see you in my next tutorial.